how quickly can things move right now. And not having that is no longer, oh yeah, I forgot this because, that's a ticket that's been in progress for the last week. So everyone's very familiar with what's going on. No, now, there's a new feature, someone reviewed it, and it's important for everyone to be on board, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of that around writing the code itself that we feel is not yet at the level that it should be. In none of those tools, but it's just very early on.
Zbigniew began building Shotgun to use language models to help teams create context around their software. But in the process, he discovered a bunch of heuristics which we take for granted. Like when building a new feature took a few weeks, it gave developers a few weeks to think about that feature. QAs a few weeks to test that feature. PMs a few weeks to document that feature. Now that we build features in a day or two, manual documentation no longer works. So we automate that too, but at a price.
I think the workflows are going to become a key, because how people are solving this. When we were designing Shotgun, I also experienced how fragmented experience that is. I mean, people run around from one model to another, from one research to another. They need to maintain context themselves, sort of, because those tools tend to maybe offer great research, but focus on one thing or another, or forget one important thing that you need to sort of have to manage yourself. And it has great parts, but it's so fragmented that it's difficult to work with. And if you, by some miracle, spend a lot of time putting this together, then, where's your team at? I mean, they end up spending God knows how much time reading 300-page documents.
And honestly, this is happening. The new velocity is amazing, but your projects are now spread across so many systems. Files are edited without that deep review. Nobody in the team has granular understanding of the code. This, according to Zbigniew, is the hidden tax of AI velocity, context management. A developer using Claude Code, Cursor, V0, Perplexity, they're managing 4 separate conversations, each with only partial context. This new acceleration has its own very real friction.
Things that, people are also, I think, are mentioning and definitely were helpful for us, like having extensive test suite, like seeing the tests that express clearly, hopefully, your expectations as to the code, and running them very regularly and seeing how they are also built around it. This is the scaffolding that helps you keep the software deterministic, even if it's not being written by deterministic tools. If you have any kind of that flexible system, the evaluation of whether you don't have any regressions across different models and stuff like that is something that is definitely challenging as a sort of non-user facing feature, but something that we don't often appreciate how much work goes into. So obviously we started using it to analyze its own code. And funnily enough, in the very early versions, it got confused because the agents were told that they are Shotgun themselves. So how do we work around it? So that was pretty hilarious there. But this is ultimately what we want. This is how we want to work.
The traditional software team operated sequentially. Plan, build, test, deploy, document, each phase informing the next. Now watch a modern AI-assisted team. Parallel conversations with different models, 3 team members building features simultaneously, documentation generated, never written, seldom reviewed, rarely edited, tests written by AI for code written by AI. The speed is great, but it's also super hard to coordinate. A team of 5 developers needs the management and coordination of a traditional team of 15, and that costs. Speed creates complexity that consumes speed.
I saw that we will need more structured communication with the user earlier on, because if you think about it, about say running longer running tasks, and you have that experience with deep research or whatever, it will take some minutes. And if we run a couple of them, even in parallel through Shotgun, it still takes a little while, but it's fine. You want to get good research and you're going to spend a lot of time reading it. But I felt like being able with the user to have something more structured than the chat is going to be helpful. And it turns out that chat still has a long way in terms of the communication. One is actually having a multi-agent system with different agents that work and communicate between themselves, and context never ends. hopefully. Let me know if it does at any point. Figuring out the compaction across different models and making sure that it works for them was no easy task.
Multiple agents, context management, cross-model communication. It's the new price that we pay for AI, and it's usually a lot higher than the token cost that we're also focused on. Like the companies building the foundation models, the consumers of those models are also building new infrastructure. Documentation that updates in real time. Context that flows between tools automatically. Coordination mechanisms that keep a team in sync. We're suddenly all working on solving these second-order problems that nobody really expected, or planned for, or hired for, budgeted.